respected Professor Satyamurthy ji, Professor Arvind Kumar ji, my other colleagues and friends. As has been already announced, since 2014 we are observing 31st October as Unity Day. It is actually in commemoration of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, in recognition of the monumental work that he has done. Of course, we all as students of MAHE, even otherwise in school, we must have read about the work that Sardar Patel did, especially from, say, 1946 to 1948, 1949. We got independence in 1947, but Sardar Patel was the first Home Minister of India, independent India, but he died in 1950. So it was practically a very short-lived term as Home Minister for Sardar Patel. Of course, there are a lot of articles, debates on so many ifs and buts. What would have happened if Sardar Patel had become the Prime Minister? What would have happened if he had continued beyond 1950, if he was healthy? Actually, around 1942, after the 42, there was a, we all know about the Quit India movement of 1942. So, in 1941 onwards, Mahatma Gandhi had started thinking in terms of this Quit India movement. The run-up to Quit India movement was also very interesting. It was the end of the Second World War, and then Britain was in a very bad shape. Economically, it was in a very, very bad shape. I mean, far more bad than what it is now. So if you think Brexit and other things are really serious matter for England, you should really go back to the history and see what has happened in 1945 to 1938 onwards, almost to 40s. So Britain had a plan of slowly withdrawing from their colonies. Of course, the plan ran for almost 10 years. 1 decade it took for them to finally liquidate all their colonies. And it took time because of Winston Churchill, who was the Prime Minister, and he decided that I will not preside over the liquidation of Her Majesty's government, he said. So he was not against Britain giving up on the colonies. But of course, after the election he lost. A new government, Clement Attlee's government came, and it was a Labour government, not the conservative one, and so many things happened. So we are not going into those details, but the point that we should remember is, it was in such a scenario that Mahatma Gandhi thought that we should now pressurize the British government to quit India, and he wanted Sardar Patel to lead that Quit India movement. So it's very interesting conversation, interesting letters, exchange of letters between Mahatma Gandhi and Sardar Patel. Around 1943-44, Sardar Patel, of course, he refused. He said, I will do everything that you command, but don't make me the leader. And he was very unwell. There are correspondence between them saying that Mahatma Gandhi writing to Sardar Patel that you should look after your health. There is so much you have to do. Eventually the British have to quit. We will become independent. But then independent India would require a person like you. So somewhere probably at that time, Mahatma Gandhi also must have thought that to invest so much energy, so much of responsibility in Sardar Patel probably may not be in the best interest. We don't know, so all this is conjecture, of course. But though these ifs and buts have continued for a long time. Similarly, if he had kept his health better and in 1950 he would have lived long, what would have happened? How he would have handled 1962 if he was alive in 1962, how he would have handled 1962. There are so many things anyway. But whatever we know about what he did from 46 to 50, especially 48, was the monumental work of bringing all the smaller states, smaller riyasat, they call it, the princely states, to join the Indian dominion. The partition plan created three conditions. According to the partition plan, the British told all the princely states that, look, you have three choices. One is to become part of the Indian dominion, the second is to become the part of Pakistan dominion, or the third is to remain independent. Now, if you go back into history, this unity, see, we call it a unity day because he united. But basically, this disunity was created by the British. When they came in, there were not so many principalities. There were smaller rulers, princely states, but not that there were 600 odd princely states. There was a loose conglomeration. Like we have states today. Each and every state is independent. They have a government, they have chief ministers, they have governors, but they are all linked to a broader administrative unit called India under a constitution, under a unitary constitution. But there was an unwritten constitution even before 1947 or even before the 1800s when the British came. So, what essentially we should try to understand is that there was a natural unity. So, unity has two factors, the natural unity and the artificial unity. We all know about the disintegration of USSR. When we say USSR disintegrated, what was USSR? USSR was Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. If you go back into history, 1000 years back into history, or 500 years back into history, or even 300 years back into history, will you find a country called USSR? You won't know. There are maps drawn by Columbus. There are maps drawn by so many other people in the world. They don't mention USSR. They mention Russia. Some of them do mention Russia. But out of a small country called Russia, due to various incidents, geopolitical happenings, a broad country was created called the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. That time Russia was very strong, which happens, as John F. Kennedy said, no country remains superpower forever. Every superpower declines. But there was a time when Russia was considered a very strong country, a superpower. So, they created, the geography extended beyond what was usually called Russia. But it was an unnatural unity. It was a union, but very unnatural union. So obviously, when events changed, when the geopolitical situation changed, this unnatural unity could not be maintained. So it disintegrated. And all the former socialist republics, they were not originally socialist republics, they were republics. Some of them were republics, some of them were just ordinary states. But they all disintegrated and became independent countries. And what remains today is a small portion, which we call Russia, even today. So in Hindi we say Rus. Even before, when USSR was there, we never said Rus. We never said USSR, we said Rus. So Rus is Rus. The same thing remains now. Now this is the original union, a country. So this unity has two factors, the artificial unity and the natural unity. The most ideal thing, similarly when Sardar Patel tried all these things, he met all these princes, he wrote to all the princely states, he went and met all of them. Some of them came to meet me, some he went and met. Some were not ready also. The Maharaja of Junagadh, the Nawab of Junagadh, he said, I will not join you. The Nawab of Hyderabad, he refused. He said, I will fight if you attack me. There was a huge demand for Punjabi Suba at that time. Master Tara Singh had demanded that Punjabi Suba, he said, we want an independent Punjab. Punjab has never been a part of India, so we will not be part of India. We want an independent Punjab. He demanded independent Punjab. Sardar Patel had to handle him also. Sardar Patel handled the Nawab of Hyderabad. He told Junagadh also. So ultimately it was, handling these people was very difficult. The only state which was not handled by Sardar Patel was handled by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru at the time, and that was Jammu and Kashmir. Very unfortunately, that is the only state which probably, quote unquote, creates problem even today. Of course, now that with the abrogation of Article 370, much of it has been watered down. But then the problem still was there. Then again the same if and but question. If Sardar Patel had handled Jammu and Kashmir also, things would have been different. Okay? So we won't go into those details now. But suffice to say that he brought about this unity. Now, was this unity artificial? It was not. Because when we talk in terms of a nation, there is a natural unity also. Especially when we talk of India. The constitution also speaks about India, that is Bharat. There is a natural unity in this country. There are so many factors that keep this country together. That has an entity called identity. We all feel that it's an identity. It's like a human body. We have a human body. People from the life sciences, I don't have to explain all these things. I may make some mistakes while giving examples, but you have to pardon me for that. So when we say, do we separate every part of the body has a separate name? The finger is called a finger. The hand is called a hand. The finger and the hand are not the same. So, but when they have separate names, but they also belong to the body. They are part and parcel of the same body, although they have separate identity. So what is the identity of an individual? Do we say, oh, there goes that finger? We don't say, there goes so and so. He has a name, so we say so and so. Because there are so many students here, every student has to have a name. Every student's identity card number has to be different. We cannot have one identity card number for all the students. It will be difficult. So we give independent numbers, we give independent names. We give independent identity. Similarly, the body has independent identity. But there is some unity in the body. What in technical terms we call synchronization. Synchronization, syncing. We sync our mobile with our computer. So it is syncing. So the features, there are some of the features in the mobile are the same as in the case of computer. So that is how we sync. So what the computer is supposed to do, the mobile is supposed to do, the laptop can do, or something like that. So the synchronization is happening. Similarly, there is a synchronization in the body also. So if the synchronization is not there, then it is unnatural. That synchronization, that unity is natural. Although there are different identities within the body also, but these identities merge into one, and then that synchronization happens, that unity happens. That unity, what we call the Manasa, Vacha, Karmana unity. What the mind thinks, we say, and what we say, we do. So many things. So, like, we are all students, so this example fits better for all of us. So, like, when you join the college after 6-7 months, you quietly come across a, should I say, girlfriend or looking girl? What happens? You smile. Smile at her, and then she smiles back. Then, no, when you smile, what happens actually? It's only the lips that move. But does the body respond? Can the lip on its own do something? It can't. That is the synchronization happening within the body. And without others noticing, you wink at her, she winks back. I mean, I'm just trying to explain the unity part of it. So this unity, this synchronization is natural. So ultimately you are responsible. Your professor Satyamurthy will catch hold of you. You will say, no, she says, I didn't wink, actually it was my eyes which was winking. It has an independent identity, no doubt about it. It is called an eye for mine. So and so is called a lip. It is an identity. But all these identities are merged together into a body, which is unity. This unity is natural. If this unity becomes unnatural, then you are a robot. You are controlled by somebody. Artificial intelligence. Your professor will press, and then when you walk straight, you don't look here and there. However, good things may be happening by your side. Because you are a robot, you are not synchronized. A nation is not a robot. India is not an artificial country. India is not an artificial entity. It's the features of unity are natural. For thousands of years it has remained natural. There are so many things that may be independent, but we link ourselves to it. We are not living on the banks of Ganges. Ganga, we are not living on the banks of Ganga. But we have reverence towards Ganga. We are proud of the Himalayas. We are nowhere close to Himalayas. Maybe it's about 1,000, 2,000 kilometers away from here. But still we feel we are part and parcel of that country. So we have cultural linkages, we have traditional linkages, we have so many kinds of linkages, and when all these linkages work together and in a synchronized way, it becomes a unity. And that is the unity that we realize. And it is what we call a permanent feature, a sthayi bhav. There is sometimes unity. 1962, China attacked, the country came together. 1965, Pakistan attacked, everybody comes together. 1971, again war with Pakistan, everybody comes together. So when there is a war, when there is a calamity, people come together. When there is no war, no calamity, we roll up our sleeves and fight with one another. But is it natural? But this fight is also natural, of course. We can quarrel on anything. We can divide our country into two parts on a language, Andhra Pradesh was created on the basis of one language, Telugu pride. And then linguistic states were formed. And after about 60 years, the same Andhra Pradesh, which was created on the basis of Telugu pride, was again divided into two states. Both states speaking the same language. So we don't require any reason to fight or quarrel or get divided. But this unity has to be a natural and permanent, what we call this Sthayi Bhav. We get united only if there is a calamity. As Shakespeare wrote, if not love, let calamity toss her into my bosom, he said. So we are all waiting for a calamity to happen and then we all come together. The moment the calamities are off, we are in our natural form. So that should not happen. So that idea of remaining together, thinking together, it has been there for a long time. As we say in that mantra also, that Vedic mantra, Yendunadeo Varshantu Partanyaha, Supipana Oshadeo. I won't go into that much. Then finally it says, Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Saviryam Karvavahe, Tejasvina Vaditimastu, Ma Vidvishavahe, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu. Let us all remain together, let us think together, let us walk together, let us act together. The thinking, remaining, acting together. The togetherness is what keeps us. And then there is a purpose for this togetherness. So if we realize that purpose, that togetherness becomes easier, better, more useful. So how to remain this? How to be together, how to be united, even in the absence of calamity. So if we are together, then we don't have to come together artificially only to meet a calamity. Because if we are together, that calamity itself will not come. So that kind of a situation should evolve from individual to collective togetherness. So this idea we should be able to develop. And this unity or togetherness is very contagious and it should be contagious. So how we are able to spread this message? So I think if we are able to do or think in these terms, it will be really a great tribute for Sardar Patel. So I would not limit myself only to Sardar Patel, to go into the background of this unity and togetherness and then express this togetherness as Indian, as a Bharatiya person. That was the whole idea I was thinking of. Thank you.